Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another US Future Stream. Today is Tuesday, October 21st. It is 1:31 p.m. Eastern Time in the US. I hope you have been doing well. I was not in the market today. Actually, just I just came I just came to the trading desk maybe like 1 hour ago. I wasn't expecting. Um, I did have, I do have something in mind. Maybe a potential trade here, but not a trade, an idea of some kind of development here. What I have noticed is this market is not responding to the negative news in the way how it usually does, right? How it usually does. Maybe the fact that the same news, the same kind of news is being broadcast again, because we have this trade negative news or trade related negative news that is coming back and over, right? We have some yesterday. We have the same, pretty much the same news today, or based on the same thing. And that is a repetition of what happened here during this day when it came out the first time. I'm aware of what's happening or what happened here yesterday. Extremely low volume. You can see how volume declines here as the market goes higher. All right, we are very close, pretty close to these all-time highs. Actually, the idea or the scenario comes from this, right? When this market actually getting close to this all-time high again, we're getting into basically this is almost the end of the year. We are not still there. We are in the end of the year territory. What can happen with the Santa's rallies? One thing. How it happens is another thing. And the lack of news also, the lack of official news because of the shutdown is also important here. I haven't seen much flux of capital here or much involvement based on what I'm seeing here. Also what I'm seeing, observing, it's what is happening in the market overall as well. If I compare, for example, what's happening today, we may have some higher volume relative to yesterday, but this is a really extraordinary low day relative to the rest of the days. So I'm comparing to the day previous, which still give us a low day, right? This is relative. I don't know this. I am not going to die because of this, right? And but I am interested. Oh, this thing is. I build a new chart here, and I use. Okay, I'll talk about that later. But the idea that I was having here, or the potential scenario is, right? We have a 5-day range. Let me see if I can minimize this a little bit, so we can see better these profiles here. All right. All right, right there. Right there's better. First and foremost, we have the go, no-go level, the 6600. It was bought a couple times. Now we have a weekly low here, weekly low here, weekly low here, another weekly low, 4 weekly lows. Check your month or your weekly time frame charts, and you will see that we have a 5-day range here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day range. The breakout that happened out of this range. Taking the market fails outside of this inside bar, break out the 2-day range and break out of the 5-day range. And this area is what I am observing, because this is the support that I have noticed the market form 2 weeks ago, right? And the market is right there, right? You can see again the market is doing this, being bought here, trying to be sold from here, can pull it back, and doing this. It is around the same thing that happened here, and collapsed, and because of news that we have here, right? I hope you remember what happened here as well during this day. It takes the market back out. We have a significant break, and the same thing can happen here. The direction, I don't know. The direction, I don't know. This is still a range-bound market. No decision here in particular. And the idea, okay, coming back, is if I see declining, constantly declining volume as the market goes from this point to this one, taking this high, this level out. The next one is this area, in which we have very questionable highs here, little excess in the all-time high. There's a bunch. Remember, I have this area marked out also. I just erased this today with a bunch of stops, right? And I erased it. The only reason why I erased this is because I already know now. I don't need to see it. I have that in the background now of my brain. And how this breakout happens, if it happens. I'm not saying that I am going to go long or be long or short this market as soon as it happens. Okay, because there is always a tendency also. If we have a trend or a market or whatever, or a specific reference, as in this case, right, here, there is a tendency of bigger participants to get out of this market around it. And I don't want to create confusions here. Let's do it here. Right? As the market reaches this level, as it happened, for example, at 5,000, right? I hope you remember. There's some, remove of risk that can happen here. And if the market continues, it's way higher, they will re-enter up here. That can happen here as well. Now, the structure below is very weak, super weak. The market is still, or this contract still has more than half of its life in it. We have end of the month, every on the month, the third falls, check your calendars, the third falls in Friday. Okay, the end of the month falls on Friday. This is a very, very important thing. I am watching this day. Check your calendars as well. I still have 2 more weeks to go. I mean, this one and the next one before reaching Friday. We have CPI as I know we will have this number. I think we will have this number. And that can be a catalytic here for some movement, either to the upside or to the downside. They will have a range here. The market still has this huge range. Yeah. And what can happen here is 2 things. The market may come out, check, and then trade to the opposite side, or you can check and keep its way high. Which one is going to be? I have no idea. But that is just one scenario. All right? One scenario that I'm watching. And this one probably, this one here, probably will need some sort of catalytic in the market. If there is no catalytic, I expect to see more volume or less volume coming, and the market still keep, kind of like grinding its way higher. That is the way higher. Just, I'm aware, I learned the hard way, but don't fight this kind of markets. Don't find a market that is trending higher. After all, the bigger time frame is still invested to the upside. As you can see, as you will see here, all right, we have this trend. We have this monthly that is going higher. And from here to here, I believe is like 20%, 20 or almost 30% advance the market has had. Kind of like 15% here from previous year, and this is very rare actually, having this kind of gains for the S&P is unusual. Usually the markets either kill it, right? You have a huge upside relative to the previous year, or you are negative. But in average, the last 100 years or so, 50, no, I don't know exactly, I don't know that number, but in average, the S&P is around 10, 12% up every year. But there has not been a year in which, the market has this advance. Now it either goes super high or is negative, right? Something like that. It either kills or it is killed. There are many signs, many talks. You will hear many people talking about that this is a really hyperextended market and that correction is in the way, and that can be a reason for what we are seeing this incredible bounce in minerals as well, right? We have gold. This is unbelievable. Can you see? Let me minimize the monthly so you can see better what has happened in the past years, right? Look at this advance that the gold has had, right? That is tremendous. It seems like it's targeting the 5,000. I believe this could be where this market is aiming. I think it is just not how I'm struggling to find the words. Right? The fact that we have Bitcoin now in this time, or we have crypto in this time, I think that is what has prevented that this market to go even, to break these charts, right? Really. Because there's a lot of capital that has gone into those markets, and for me in particular, and this is just my opinion, right? I think that's not worth. Crypto is just an easy way to do money for some people. There's people that's doing a lot of money into that business, but if you're doing a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good business. Again, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. Now in the weekly, we can see these gaps here. Pretty much almost every week, week after week, this market's gap higher. Right? Some sort of rebalancing or correction is also expected in this. This would be extraordinary break that this market may have coming to this area around the 37 something, right? That will put the market, that will put this market kind of like close to its 50 moving average, which actually is not something that is outside of the realm of possibilities. You have this 50 here, 100, 200, and coming down to here. Look at that. Look at what it is. Right? You have 37 right there. I'm not saying that's going to happen today or tomorrow or this week, but it can flush all of these FOMO participants that we have here, right? I will leave this part of the market holding the back, and there has been a tremendous. I don't know if you have seen the hype that is behind gold, right? Gold is going to reach the 20,000 or whatever, and there's a lot of people that is buying gold, physical gold bars, and actually that's a business now. Right? I think just a couple years ago I have started to see Costco, Walmart, Sam's starting to sell gold and bars, and that is, I don't remember, at least, I mean, before, if you wanna buy gold, you have to do it another way, right? You have to you have to mail or send a check and then get your bars over the mail, and a lot of things can happen. But now you can step in the store and buy gold. Certified gold, in which you can be sure that your bar is almost 100% pure gold, right? And when you want to sell those bars, also the vendor or the buyer only need to scan some sort of barcode that is in there to verify, how good the bar is. That is another business that can be prop in this market really high. And if this happens, and those kind of participants are retail. Retail is easily can fall for it easily. It can also, when they see their investments losing, they have a tendency to get rid of it. They will think that this market is going to go back to 1800s, where it was a couple of years ago, and I don't want that, right? I'd rather lose 500 and instead of losing more. Isn't it just admitting that there is a possibility that they can lose much money than that? That is something that can trigger something here to the downside. There's a lot also. If we check crude oil, crude has been coming down, has been in this range. This is the monthly. The back and forth in this range around the 80 in the past years. Now it's going lower. I don't see this time. No, I don't see this as something good. If the market is coming down, I think that there's no demand here in this market, rather than an abundance of crude oil. I think that there's no demand here, and that is causing this break here, right? Having a directional movement here in crude oil. I am still watching this, having that sort of view, relative to what I do in these markets, right? This is relative to my business. How can it have an impact in my business? You have a base here, another one here, and the next one is down here. I still want to reach it. This wouldn't be that good, really. It wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be. That would be really bad. This low is no good. It hasn't reached. We have something here. It hasn't reached this low here. There's some gap here. Maybe it can reach. I mean, technically, this I don't look at this market with technicalities because I never traded crude. I have no intentions to trade crude. I rather use this to see how this market impact the business I am in. Bonds, you have the 50 years bond, I have the 30 here. Now I can see there's some kind of like a holding the line here around the 50 now. It's getting away. There was a lot of chop here. Now we got to mix it, 50, hundreds, and whatever, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth here. Until now, it's clearing. The 15, we have 200 already very clear below. Again, we have 50, 100, 200. And this is something the traders use a lot in these markets, right? There's a potential trend here in which the 100 can actually go higher here, the 50 there, and the 200 below, and which will put this we'll put these bonds in sync with the other one. That is something that is positive for the market because there is no pressure. Money is cheaper this way, right? And that could have an impact here. Remember the scenario that I was the scenario I was talking is the market taking these highs out here, attempting to maybe test it and targeting the opposite side of the range, or doing this thing, right? If this happens, this has to be really fast. Well, usually it's something fast. If volatility increases significantly when these kind of events happen, I think it needs a catalytic, the markets already have figured out Trump. For this upside here, if I have, for example, I have crude low, bonds in particular going higher, that can, be the backup for this market, to grind its way higher, right? Really, you can find yourself short in this market as it goes higher, and short in this kind of markets just provide the fuel for this market to keep going higher and higher and higher until something happens and boom, we have a rebalancing on inventory at those levels, whatever it is. Right? I don't have anything here. I stayed late watching the market yesterday, just watching because I was very interested in observing what the overnight could do relative to these unbelievable lows here. This is when the news coming from the White House hit the market. You could see the market pushing its way lower, pushing hard, really hard, and being bought around this support resistance. Remember this thing from the past. Now I have it highlighted here. I wasn't aware. I forgot about this yesterday when this happened, but I could see, right? I could see there was something going on there. And when I checked this later, okay, all right, that is something, right? It was also, and this coincides with the high of this 5-day range as well. So I tried to get back inside the range, and now it's being pushed above, right? The same, kind of like the same thing that the scenario that remember, this is just an scenario, okay? This is just an scenario. What the possibilities, something happening here. Actually, I can say Sorry about that. I can say that I can see that happening here, not up here, but around this area actually. This area is being checked. It was checked. It was checked during the news. It couldn't get back the rest of the day back here. It was rather bought here, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 lows there. Nasdaq was even worse. All right, very weak Nasdaq. And the overnight, look at this. This is extremely bad here. Extremely bad. Overnight inventory was, I would say, neutral. 190,000 being bought just a couple of ticks below this low. Adds the only thing that adds here is tremendous amount of stops. Just imagine where these guys have the stop. Right here, around the same area. Okay, if there is something here that can happen, and now that I am watching, I'm talking about this. Let me screenshot this again. Okay. At the time, I have this an area. It was yellow. I have a yellow ellipse here. Tremendous amount of stops here, from this day, and the overnight here. Right. The same thing here. The same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 7 white here, 3 more that is adding here. The same thing is something very similar is what we have here. If there is a break that happens here, remember, it doesn't have to happen that way, right? And that's what many times kills the trader, is that they expect, right? I have an observation, I can see the market, I can see a reference, let's see 668.12, for example, right? It has to reach 68.12. If it doesn't reach 68.12, this is not valid. That kind of sadness, I don't care about that kind of sadness. Right? But if there is something here, this could be where the market can make a stand. But how I see it is, if there is any significance of anything happening to the downside, you see the market taking this area out, mainly removing the support, the stops that I have here, and building actually value in here. Doing the same thing that it's doing here, for example, building value here, right? But below this, and some sort of spike to the downside or whatever. That scenario is the one that I kind of, maybe it's a wishful thinking, right? But it is just one scenario. Okay. How many times have you seen this potential happen and you trying to out from the market? I'm going to be short here, right? But just let the market develop. We may have something that is the opposite, for example, right? But the other one can develop in different ways. One way, and let's talk now about the opposite scenario to the one that I am currently talking. Something that can happen here, and this can happen really fast as well. We have talked about this tremendous amount of stops here. Money usually removing risk here and re-entering the market up here. When we have a reference, which is in this case is this one, right? This area here, we may have some quick upside here. Because there's a lot of bets here that is happening in the short term that this market is going to break. After all, we have a range, we have big liquidation, rebalancing day that happened here during this day, in this day coming to the downside, right? We have that here in this day. And there's a lot of betting that's happening here. If the shorts that we have here, I am not saying the inventory is short. I think it's quite the opposite. But if the shorts that are here see the market taking this high, which I suspect is where they are using that level, right, to monitor their trade. If the market reaches this one, probably they're going to be out. But and the ones that remains, right, that don't wanna give up the position, start to pray for the trade to work, will see themselves going deep underwater if there is some huge upside, especially if it is fast. That can happen. That scenario actually can favor some sort of rebalancing afterwards because it's short covering. This one is short covering. This one is short covering. Notice that it is truncated in the upper side. This one is different though to what we have, for example, in here. If I remember well, this one is very similar to this day here. There's some elongation here that happened. This is liquidation, but it had something more because this is a little bit elongated. It's just different, right? This is the opposite scenario to this one. This is scenario 1, this is scenario 2. The scenario 2 and the scenario 1 have some kind of variance. Got to be able to identify, right? If the thing is, why I have these scenarios in this case in mind, because I can plan here, for example. As you can see, I am planning or seeing the potential, some grind happening. The market struggling its way really low, coming about doing this going high, but grinding is way high. It's very different. The market just shooting is way high, right? Those kind of scenarios can be useful for me to start thinking now how I'm going to assess risk, right? How I'm going to assess risk? What can I do if the market goes against me? Right? How am I going to monitor the trade? What can go wrong? What can go right? And how I monitor using those planned, somewhat planned scenarios. But I am not going to die by those ones either. That's the thing about being the discretionary trader. Especially, I don't hold trades overnight. So my time frame trading is very specific. It's very specific. I am a retail trader. I don't hold trades overnight. I don't hedge overnight. And I go flat, right? And I just trade regular trading hours. I don't even trade overnight. Occasionally I do, but I can count with my both hands how many times I have. I guess only one hand. I can even recall. I don't know specifically, but I can recall some trades. But that just tells me that I don't. If I can count the trades I made in the overnight, that just tells me that how few those trades are. This planning these scenarios is very helpful because when something happens, you actually have something that you can use, right? Something where you can recline and use that and watch actually and start. You are always thinking, but it helps. It helps. Again, I am watching the 31st. I'm watching CPI. I'm watching tomorrow Netflix. I am watching Thursday Tesla. We have mixed We have something going on with banks as well. Overall, they were not bad. But there's some pressure in the banking, in the financial system as well. That also can put pressure on the Fed, including, to cut rates. All right, let's maximize this now. For today, one of the things that I saw when I came to the market is how strong the Dow was. We still don't have a significant excess in the weekly time frame, and it would be really nice that this has a spike here. As you can see, I'm going to extend this trend to the right. This is some sort of trend here. Maybe I can lower this a little bit. What do we have here? Right? Now you have something here to use. This is range forming. There's a little one here. In between this other one here, another range here. This is actually really nice. Range, breakout, range, breakout, range, breakout, range, breaking out. Don't know. This high in the monthly was really questionable here. That has been corrected. Notice how it's tested here. Remember the scenario I was planning for this. The scenario number 1, in which the market breaks out of this range, comes back and tested, but here it doesn't have a continuation. Then the second one plays here. How it has played, I don't know. But I don't trade the Dow. I just see these charts, right? And use these ones to see how the market is doing. We can see, for example, the Dow. The Russell, the 1000, what is this 1000? The Russell has looked below previous day range, has come back inside, has looked above. Where is it going to close? It's going to be, if this market closes above previous day range, that will be a sign of short-term strength in this market. And we'll basically can put all the indices to the upside. All right. Right now we have a breakout. Notice how many times it takes this high out. But this pull constantly is being pulled back inside, back inside, back inside. And what we have here during this day now is extended to 2 days as well. Hope you can see this thing, right? Just imagine what's happening, and not just today's session, but the whole overnight also is doing the same thing. Nasdaq was the weakest. As you can see, value in Nasdaq actually is lower. What has in its favor, notice how this distribution, remember Nasdaq kept the distributions right yesterday, and the ES closed 2 of the 3. That part of the job was completed by Nasdaq today. Right? Extremely weak area, A white lows here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, actually only 7, no 8. I would say maybe 4, 6, no 7. Right? There's tremendous amount of stops here. But these ones, I can consider, I will consider rebalance this. But this kind of action, when the markets do these kind of things, it just moved these stops from this area to down here. Now we have in this area here, you have one here. No, my bad. Forget it. Yeah, you have one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And technically there is no excess here. We have no excess here today. No excess, especially for a market that is like Nasdaq. It can move, it really can move huge ranges. It also has taken the low. It has taken this distribution, the opposite side, this one out, which targets actually this side, but because there is nothing here, man. There's nothing here holding this market. Remember when it opens? It opened way down here. All right, this is a short covering there. Let me remove this, and the upper side as well. You got 1, 2, 3. The upper side, the same kind of weakness that we have in the lower side here. It's the same thing up here. We have 3 white here, and add these 2 here. All right, add these 2 here. Oh, come on. One here. Another one here. That makes this high very, very, very weak. Okay, and the one thing that I'm watching here, this value is being built. You know, it's overlapping lower. For this value to move at least inside previous day, this needs to have a huge upside here. You know, a significant extension, maybe towards the 430, 25, 400, or 25, 500 here, 25,500. Just a second, please. Relax, Luna. All right, that is only in that way I would consider the shorts, the longs here, like kind of safe getting into the close if there is some upside here. It is different for the ES. Okay, different. We have overlapping higher here. I haven't, since I have come to this market like a couple hours ago, I didn't think, even though I have acknowledged the weakness that this market has in the lower side, I have even think wants to be short here. In a very narrow range. One of the main things now that is in my mind, or that I think has to be in the mind of traders is, you got to survive these markets. We got to survive. First, if the market is going to rally, if we are going to have the second scenario developing here, if I have no capital, so it's not going to be worth, right? For example, or if the first scenario develops, if I am mentally exhausted because I am trading back and forth, and my mental and financial capital is depleted, how am I going to be able to do anything here? For example, right? Just think about that. Now, this new chart here, I have put it here. What I have here is volume profile for the regular trading hours from 9:30 to 4 p.m. That's the only thing. I don't see the overnight here. Why I have it here? Because I cannot see it here. I have to zoom in too much to see kind of like some values and see the formation that I have here, right? And if I do that, I will, kind of like lose the whole purpose of having having profiles here, market profiles, which is to have perspective. And so that's why I decided to just to add one more here. And having this on the side, also, I think it can help if I extend. I have only 10 days here, and you can see here, for example, how value is being built here in this area. We have this. Hold on. How is it going to do this? How can I do to minimize this? All right. Yeah, okay. Notice, for example, when we have this break, there's absolutely no volume here, right? No volume here, absolutely nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing here. Even here, this lower side is empty. There's someone here. Can you see? This is very, very nice, right? The market just couldn't take this one a couple of days later, couldn't take this one out, and up we go, right? In how it goes higher, in the same way how it went lower, right? Notice what happened here. I guess I should something that I can put here is where it open. I think that will be interesting to see. Let's do that. Where this market open today. I'm interested in this day. Where the market open here? Down here. 66.34. 66.34. What is that one? That one is this one. 66. Oh no. Yep. It opened here. 66.34. Okay. It's here. Yeah, that doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Notice how many days pass when this market opens. When this one opens way up here. Huh? 31.50. Check it out. You will see something here. 61. Come on, what is this? 67.31. 67.31. Where's my marker? Oh. 31.50. Okay, right there. Okay. Check this out. And this is something that will happen all the time here. Happens all the time. Right? You will notice this just after the fact. For example, you can use this as well. Notice when this market makes a stop here. There's tremendous downside that happens in the overnight here as well. Okay, that is not here because this I have only regular trading hours here. Couple days later, opens, challenge or test this one. Couple days later, after that, opens way up high. Checks the opening, right? But the most important thing is how this one happens. And if you can see here, right, if I have a profile, here, let's make this smaller. I'm going to screenshot this one here. If I make a profile, I will see something like this. We'll grab these 3 days here, right? Basically, you have something like this here. Absolutely nothing here. You got something here. And you need to check the volumes to know how far you're going to extend this one, right? Relative to this one, for example, right? You got another one. And once we have this one, once we have this profile during this day here, what the market does, as you can see here, is start building value here in this area, but mostly it starts building here. It starts to feel this thing here. It starts to feel this thing. And from here, it's usually when we have, once this area is filled, we have something like this, you have something either to the upside here or to the downside here. Now, many traders, by the time that we have this, they will be exhausted because they will trade back and forth, back and forth, back and forth during this time here. That's the relevance, right? That is the relevance of perspective here. And that is how FOMO impacts or can impact our trading here. We can say right now, okay, the market is pausing to do something here. Right? It's challenging this high here. Hence the relevance of having A scenarios here. The relevance of having A scenarios already planned, right? I cannot stand this high because it just disappears. But nothing is happening. Today we have this. Can you imagine, man, knowing how this market is going higher? What can happen to the longs here? Right? But trying to up from that movement, if it happens, can be very costly. By the time you have it right, probably you will be exhausted, right? Financially and mentally. After all, we have a gap here. Very emotional market. Markets that we are having here. How much is the VIX? The VIX, I wouldn't be surprised if the VIX is getting lower. Ooh, and the VIX is going lower really fast here, man. And I don't think that is. VIX is 17. If this market takes that high, that all-time high, and makes a new all-time high, the VIX can quickly go below 15. And that would be amazing, right? Because I consider the risk still being high here in this environment. But if VIX lowers or drops below those levels, I would consider this a very risky situation. All right, now I can see here, and I got my profile here. Value is basically accumulating with all this rotation here. Value is accumulating pretty much above yesterday's. Volume, my bad, volume. The non-excess high has been corrected here. Now there's a situation here. Hold on, I'm going to show you right now. The weakness that we have yesterday in the upper side. Right. Having this excess here, we are not in the same situation that we have this day here. When the market gave us excess, I can argue that being the case, but I wouldn't short this market here in the way that I would go long down here. Because this was an inside day, right? It closed the distributions, give us excess, was below value, but now value is overlapping higher. You know, first and foremost, I wouldn't trade this market, man. Really, I wouldn't trade this market. When this market started to break, it also started to break on news again. Let me move this one here so it's not in the way. This is a 5-day range high from this day. Maybe. Actually, I may want, but I don't want that label to be in the way. I will put it on the left. Okay. Notice where it has been bought. Right this high. to the tick, one tick short from that high, man. I was watching this break. So where this is going to stop, right? I have considered this area here as a potential support, right? As it was developing. Oh, and the break happened because Trump came out and said that I think they have the White House scheduled a meeting with Xi for Friday, I think, or somewhere this week. I don't remember. I should be aware of that. When that meeting is scheduled? Let me ask. And South Korea. When? Oh, look at that. Oh, come on, man. This is true. Let me put it up. I don't want to get in the way of my chart. Do you notice that? Check your calendar. So what days, we were talking about this, what day is the 31st? It's the end of the week, it's the end of the month, and now we have an event that can potentially trigger some virulent swings, right? Some big buys or significant sell-off, depending on what happens. What's going to happen? Who the heck knows, man? You have to be prepared for that day, and most importantly, you have to survive these days as well. You know, it's still 2 weeks, week and a half. We're still a week and a half away from that event, and we got to survive. Let me know if you have any comments. Oh, and this line that I have here it was just coincidence. For me, it was coincidence, right? That this market actually hit. I mean, the volume. It was curious just to see how volume. Gave us a oh, come on, man, really? A trend line here. If I compare to yesterday, for example, the opening gave us kind of like the same volume. But followed after we have a slightly increase. Slight increase. I mean, the clips are maybe, how much is this? Maybe 3-4%. something like that. Has been constant, steady. If this continues, it will end up higher than yesterday, but notice where can end, but relative to the previous day. It still will be higher up here, right? But it's still lower than these days. Very low volume here. Let me know if you have any questions or any comments. I am very fresh here. I have maybe 2 hours here in front of the market. I was tired. Check this out. Something that I don't see the markets doing when we have this kind of rotation. I don't see this market. When the markets are rotational, what happened here? This is something that we were talking. I forgot to elaborate. What was happening here during this day is the market was actually really trying to check this high. I believe there was an overnight here as well. Where is that overnight? No, it was above. Yeah, it was checking the POC, overnight POC, saddle. Yeah, overnight inventory was long. There was some counter action on the way, but what happened? You have the news, and the market just collapsed after that. Now, what I am seeing now, well, it will be something. It can be something similar to just like disregarding everything that happened here. Right? Just forget for a moment what happened here, and place your mind in what the market was doing up here when it was up here. That is the thing. And so, but many traders just have the tendency to forget what happened. Right? And we say, okay, the market break from here, and it's going to break from here again. After all, trades do what works until it doesn't work anymore. That seems to be the theme now. Remember the opening, the weekend opening? It opened with a gap to the, well, not with a gap, it opened higher, inside previous day range. And there was an attempt to close, and actually the market closed that opening gap during the same overnight session, but it opened higher relative to the opening, to the weekly to the overnight opening. That many times I would say maybe, and that's can be in the same way how the market does rebalancing on overnight inventories, maybe 65% of the time, 65-70% of the times. The weekly opening gives us an idea of what the market can do during the week. Right? That's how I see it. Right? But remember, everything has to be seen in context here. We need to have the context. We need to know what the market is. It is one thing when the market is trending, or another thing when the market is in range, right? Another thing, the market is in short covering mode. Another thing, the market is in long liquidation. Another thing is when the market is rebalancing inventory. Another thing when markets are very close to expiration. Another thing when markets are in the middle or very close to significant news events. Another thing when markets are being shocked by uncertainty, right? Events that come out of nowhere, right? Another thing, the markets, when markets are in the middle of the yearly session. So all those factors we have to have in mind. It is really hard, okay? It is really hard to be focused or to remain focused. Our minds have the tendency to wander. Something that you can find, chat with traders is a really nice podcast. You can find this in YouTube, Audibles. I think they have a Spotify as well. But there is a lot of interviews that they do to successful traders here. Now they are really nice, really nice. Some of these people that they interview, you will find them kind of like they may trade or may see the market from the same perspective as you do, all right? But others may have another different perspective. My suggestion, if any, is try to have an open mind and be willing to listen or to hear to what other people have to say about their strategies, their point of views, the market point of views, and how they face markets. It's really interesting, and it's just a good way as well, to keep our brains in the market when we have times like today, for example, right? One of the things that I like is, Dr. Brett Steenberger here. Where's technical traders? I mean, there's a lot. You will find a lot of good market wizards, right? Market wizards also has been interviewed multiple times here. These guys are really, very interesting topics that you will find here in this YouTube channel. It's a good way to kill time. In times like today, for example. Huh? All right, and unless you have any questions, I believe I am going to be calling it a day here. As usual, this YouTube takes too much time to upload the stream, and Twitch, in contrast, they upload the streams right away, but they don't. I don't know how. At least in my case, they don't keep those streams for more than 7 days. If you want to see, if you are watching these ones in YouTube, usually it takes 24 hours to upload. But if you want to see it, you have Twitch as well. And the link is in the description. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe. I wish you the best day, the best week. All right. See you.